Hi, my name is Leah Day, and welcome to this video for the Building Blocks Quilt-along. Today, Josh is going to be stitching out the very last Sawtooth star. So let's get started.
Okay, I've knocked out the border of the star, and I looked at the grid lines, and it actually hit me all of a sudden. I want to try a freehand spiral. I think it will be really cool, a nice contrast to the grid lines, and it's also really helpful for me to see these points here, here, and here. It gives me a nice area to keep the exterior circle within.
Awesome. Well, let's see you do it. This is going to be exciting.
And this is the first time I'm doing this.
So kind of those points have given you something to aim for or estimate for.
Yes.
Awesome. And are you going to have this be a spiral that you wiggle into and wiggle out of, or is it going to be basically kind of a circle and then a spiral inside of it?
It's going to be the spiral. It comes to a point in the center, and then I go back out and it hits another point. At least that's what I'm going to try to do, since that's what I'm familiar with.
Okay, sounds good.
And you can see here I did not hit that corner as well, and it's lopsided, but you know, you got to start somewhere.
I like it. I think it looks good. I think another very important thing to note is just how little you've broken thread recently. You know, at the beginning we had quite a few issues with that, and at least lately, really haven't had that many thread breaks. I think it's gotten a lot better.
Absolutely, yes. I can chalk that up to having better control over the machine.
Better control of the machine and your speed, all of that kind of comes hand in hand and makes for fewer thread breaks and a lot easier and more enjoyable sewing experience, quilting experience. That is awesome!
Well, you know, this side looks horrendous, but you know, for a first try, it's not too bad. And another reason I chose to do this, the grid lines are extremely helpful. It's like working on a drawing program on the computer. When you put the grid lines in there and you zoom in, it really gives you a good idea of what you're working with.
Kind of like graph paper.
Exactly.
Awesome. I wouldn't have thought of that. That's really good to know. I think maybe at this point you're kind of figuring out where you go. This is nearly at the point of the star, so maybe travel stitch back and connect here, and then you can start knocking out your circuit board.
Yeah, what I was actually thinking was, because this looks so awful here, to actually go in and try to correct that. What do you think about that?
It's totally up to you.
I'm going to do that because I'm not happy with that at all. That just looks like absolute garbage.
Well, I wouldn't go that far with it, but maybe just come down and have a good visibility. It was just visibility.
There we go. See, I mean, there.
Your hand was kind of in front of that block.
And what's neat now, I mean, I feel so much better about that, because now all that'll look like, that's, you know, part of the spiral.
Just an additional line. And
because this is one block in 42, so.
Yeah. And if it makes you feel better, that's important. Okay, so the process of circuit board is basically just like a straight line, sharp angled variation of stippling. And we've worked it here, really kind of wiggling it in and around this star. So it's one of those things where you're just going to have to jump into it and start stitching on the lines. And they're kind of going to wiggle you back and forth from the star to the outside edges of the block and then back into the star. And you just have to kind of play with it and figure out the best path to get where you need to go. Like in this situation, it's just kind of playing things out just a little bit. Yeah, like Josh is going to reconnect on the inside of the star and then come back out again and end up over here to reconnect back and get into these lines. He might have to do some travel stitching.
Go down through here.
Yeah, and then wiggle back up. So there's going to be kind of a little bit of back and forth. So let's watch Josh stitch through this area and speed up the camera a little bit so you can see all of it stitched out on video. our circuit board and an additional spiral in the Sawtooth star block. So making these changes, and of course I made some changes to this even in my video. I stitched that circuit board freehand. I do want you to understand that you can change these blocks however you want. You can make them your own, you can stitch exactly what we've designed here, or you can do your own thing. It's entirely up to you. But you definitely found it easier to stitch the spiral on the grid lines?
Oh, yes, the grid lines would have been so tedious over time, especially working within the perimeter of the star block, the star area itself. And just been too much travel stitching. But just give yourself permission to mix it up, because remember, it's your quilt. You're not in school. You're not getting graded on this.
Certainly
you don't
not.
have to color within the lines all of the time.
A+s all around. If you do it and you quilt it, then of course that's the point. So my name is Leah Day, and this has been a video for the Building Blocks Quilt Along. If you'd like to follow along learning how to free motion quilt these 42 blocks, definitely check out the Spoonflower cheater cloth that Josh has been using for all of his videos. You don't have to worry about cutting or piecing fabric. All you have to do is purchase the 3 yards of fabric, cut your blocks apart, get them basted, and start free motion quilting. It's a great way to practice and focus on these skills that you need to quilt your own quilts in free motion.
And it's also ideal for people who don't have a lot of time to quilt every day. Say you only have 30 minutes a day, if that, or maybe you can only quilt on the weekend. This Spoonflower is absolutely essential, I think.
Absolutely. Yeah, so you don't have to waste any time and you can get the skills that you're wanting to build. So find the cheater cloth fabric at spoonflower.com. And until next time,
Let's go quilt.